Please rise. Ladies and gentlemen, the 16th Sangguniang Panlalawigan is now convened for its 15th regular session. The Senior Board Member and Acting Vice Governor, Honorable Mark Julius Picaballas, presiding. And for the information of the Board, we have received a letter from Attorney Benjamin C. Abalos Jr., Secretary of the DILG yesterday, regarding the designation of Honorable Mark Julius Picaballas as Acting Vice Governor of the province.
Thank you po, Mr. Secretary. Good morning po sa lahat ng mga members ng 16th Sangguniang Panlalawigan. At gaya pa ng sabi ni Mr. Secretary, ang ating pong minamahal na Vice Governor ay on official business po. That's why I'm currently the presiding officer. So again, like the previous time na nag-preside po ako, I am again asking for your patience and a little help, especially from our majority floor leader Bukal Jojo Leva, in conducting today's session. So yun po, the 15th regular session of the 16th Sangguniang Panlalawigan is hereby called to order. Please remain standing for the invocation to be led by the Honorable Gentleman from Mogpog, Honorable Neril Manggol, and to be followed by the National Anthem.
Speak the presence of the Lord. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, Almighty God, who created us in our own image, grant us grace fearlessly to contend against evil and to make no peace with oppression, that we may reverently use our freedom. Help us to employ it in the maintenance of justice in our communities and among nations. To the glory of your holy name, increase us to grant the gifts of faith, hope, and charity, and that we may obtain what you promise. Make us love what you command through Jesus Christ our Lord, who lives, reigns with you, and the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen. And in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Bayang magiliw, pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa tinig mo'y bumay. Lupang hinirang, tuyat ka ng magiliw, sa manlulukin, kita masisinig, sa lahat at puno, sa simoy at sa langit mo, ay ilang ang tulat, awit sa paglayang nilamakan, ang isang ng watawat mo'y nagumpay na itigil, ang bituin at harap niya kailan ang magiging. Lupa naman ang maraming pagsitang, lalapit sa likod. Ang ligaya naman may mamating, at namatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Mr. Secretary, kindly call the roll, please.
Honorable Aurelio J. Leva III, Honorable Antonio L. Mangkukam III, Honorable Bernardine Opis Mercado, Honorable Melgabal R. N. Cabo, Honorable Mercedes Arihano, Honorable Danilo R. Red, Honorable Ismael D. Pilin, Honorable Jose Neril L. Manggol,
Present po.
Honorable Baldomero L. Limpiada, Honorable Lorena Rosales. Mr. Presiding Officer, with 10 members of the Board present, we have the necessary quorum for this morning's session.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. There being a quorum, we may now proceed with today's session. The Honorable Majority Floor Leader Bukal Jojo Leva is hereby recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Presiding Officer. Mr. Presiding Officer, for the reading and adoption of the minutes of the previous session, may I move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes of the session dated October 14, 2022, and consider the same as having been read without prejudice. to the corrections, amendments, and clarifications to be manifested by members of the board. I so move.
There's a motion from our Majority Floor Leader Bukal Jojo Leva to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the 14th regular session and for the adoption of the said minutes without prejudice to any amendment or correction of the same. Is there any second to said motion? Duly seconded. There being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I invite members of the board who have some corrections, clarifications, or amendments to the minutes of the previous session.
Are there any members of the board who have any corrections or amendments to the said minutes of the meeting? There being none, I think, then please proceed po, Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I formally move that we adopt the minutes of the 16th regular session dated October 14th regular session, dated October 14, 2022. I so move.
There's a motion from our Majority Floor Leader Bukal Jojo Leva for the adoption of the minutes of the 14th regular session. Duly seconded by Bukal Tres Makuhang and Bukal Danny Red. There being no objection, the said motion is hereby carried.
Mr. Presiding Officer, I'm inviting members of the board who have some matters arising from the minutes.
Are there any members of the board who have any amendments of the
No member of the board manifested on matters arising from the minutes. We now go to the approval and amendment of the agenda. We have, for the messages and correspondence, we have nine items with different sub-items. We have, for the communications and petition, we have one. For the municipal ordinance, for the review of the board, we have one item with two sub-items. We have no proposed ordinance. For proposed resolution, we have one. For committee reports, we have 8. For the calendar of business, we don't have any unfinished business. We will have business for the day. We don't have any unassigned business, and we have 2 proposed ordinance and resolution for third and final reading. Mr. Presiding Officer, may I move that we approve the agenda for today's session. I so move.
There's a motion from our Majority Floor Leader Bukal Jojo Leva for the approval of the today's agenda. Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded. Is there any objection? There being no objection, said motion is hereby carried.
No member of the board avail of the privilege hour. We now go to committee reports. May this representation be recognized. For the joint committee report of the Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure, Land Use and Urban Planning and Development, and the Committee on Disaster Risk Reduction and Management.
Honorable gentleman from Buwak, Honorable Jojo Leva, as the chairperson of the Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure, Land Use and Urban Planning and Development is hereby recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. For Committee Report Number 45, 2022 of the Joint Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure, Land Use and Urban Planning and Development, and the Committee on Disaster Risk Reduction and Management. On the subject, privileged speech of the Honorable Bernardine E. Opis Mercado regarding the major and recurrent flooding at the Poblacion area in the municipality of Buwak during rainy season. Based therefrom, the committee hereby recommends the following. Number 1, for the short-term solution, there should be a unified plan in response to the effect of the recent flooding in the municipality of Buwak, particularly the barangays in the Poblacion area, including also the barangays of Sawi, Agot, Pangbangalon, and Laylay. Joint dredging operations should be done in the existing waterways and drainage system in the affected areas in the said municipality, and the joint task force for the municipality of Buwak should be immediately created in order to ensure the immediate planning and action whenever the same calamity occurs again. Number 2, medium-term solution, the possible purchase of portable industrial pump and pumping station. And letter B, allocation of funds amounting to 4 million intended for the joint activities to mitigate the effect of flooding in the affected areas in the municipality of Buwak. And number 3, for the long-term solution, to favorably endorse the proposed construction of Buwak urban drainage system to the office of the Honorable Congressman Lord Alan J. Velasco, the Provincial Development Council, and the Regional Development Council, amounting to 1 billion for their consideration. Final recommendation is to adopt a resolution urging the Provincial Engineering Office, the Municipal Engineering Office of the Municipality of Buwak, and the Department of Public Works and Highways Marinduque District Engineering Office to conduct a joint dredging operations in the existing waterways and drainage system in the Poblacion area in the municipality of Buwak, including also the barangays of Sawi, Agot, Pangbangalon, and Laylay for the said municipality which was affected by flood during rainy seasons. 2, to adopt a resolution creating the joint task force for the municipality of Buwak that will ensure the immediate planning and action whenever the same calamity occurs again, which shall be composed of the following. Chairperson, the Honorable Governor Presbyterio J. Velasco Jr., the co-chairperson, the Honorable Army de la Cruz Carrion. The executive officer shall be appointed by the municipal mayor duly concurred by the provincial governor. Members, the Provincial Engineering Office, the Municipal Engineering Office, the Department of Public Works and Highways, the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office, the Municipal Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office, the Philippine National Police, the Bureau of Fire Protection, the barangay captains of the 61 barangays in the municipality of Buwak, the Provincial Planning and Development Office, and the Municipal Planning and Development Office. Number 3, to adopt a resolution favorably endorsing to the Honorable Congressman Lord Alan J. Velasco the proposed Buwak Urban Drainage System project amounting to 1 billion pesos. Number 4, to adopt a resolution favorably endorsing to the Provincial Development Council of Marinduque the proposed urban drainage system project amounting to 1 billion for its consideration and prioritization. And number 5, to adopt a resolution favorably endorsing to the Regional Development Council of Region 4, Mimaropa, the consideration and prioritization of the proposed Buwak Urban Planning Drainage System project in the amount of 1 billion pesos in the municipality of Buwak, Marinduque. Respectfully submitted, the Honorable, yours truly, as Chairperson of the Committee on Infrastructure, the Honorable Ismael D. Pilim, as the Chairperson of the Committee on Disaster Risk Reduction and Management, the Honorable Danilo R. Red, the Honorable Antonio L. Mangkukang, the Honorable Mencabal R. Incabo, the Honorable Bernardine Opis Mercado, the Honorable Baldomero L. Limpiada, and the Honorable Mercedes R. Rihano. Mr. Presiding Officer, may I move for the adoption of Committee Report Number number 45 series of 2022.
There's a motion from Honorable Bukal Jojo Leba for the adoption of Committee Report number 45-2022. Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded. Is there any objection? There being no objection, the said motion is hereby carried.
Following its adoption, Mr. Presiding Officer, may I move that the accompanying resolutions be transferred to the municipal portion of today's session.
There's a motion from Honorable Bukal Jojo Leva that the 5 resolutions as an offshoot of the said committee report number 45-2022 be transferred to business for the day. Is there any second to the said motion? Duly seconded. And there being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I ask that to recognize the chairperson of the Committee on Social Services for the committee report number 46 series of 2022 of the said committee.
The chairperson of the Committee on Social Services, the Honorable Gentle Lady from Santa Cruz, Honorable Mercy Rihano, is hereby recognized.
Good morning to everybody. Committee report number 46-2022. Establishing the saklolo at gabay sa ina at pamilya sa GIP program in the province of Marinduque, providing for the source of funds and for other related purposes. The proposed ordinance number 1614, that's 14, as titled, was introduced by Honorable Geraldine Opis Mercado during the September 9, 2022 regular session of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan was referred jointly to the Committee of Social Services and Committee on Rules, Laws, and Ordinances. On October 4, 2022, the committee hearing was conducted by the Committee on Civil Services related to said purposes, measures, and the result of which is being presented to this honorable body for its consideration and appropriate legislative action. Findings and observation. The primary objective of the proposed ordinance is to provide assistance for the protection and recovery of women and children from all forms of abuse and violence. It includes 4 aspects, which are: 1, the rescue of the abused women, mother, and children. Second, their placement in the emergency shelter. 3, probation and psychiatric services and therapy programs. And number 4, the conduct of barangay orientation programs. It also intended to establish a SAGIP program headed by a director, which is a provincial social welfare and development officer. Number 2, the provincial social welfare and development officer, Mr. Joel Resilia, expressed that the intervention programs under the proposed ordinance were already included in the social protection program currently being implemented by their office. The process of rescuing the abused women, mother, and children are already provided under provincial ordinance number 159, the series of 2021, or the barangay Bausi ordinance. The subsidy of the victims are already included in the manual operation of the Silungan Center and Abahay Pag-asa, which are both currently being operated by the PSWDO. The proposed ordinance includes intervention for the victims, such as psychiatric services and therapy programs, which can be the main purpose of the ordinance. The information dissemination and barangay orientation programs are also good features of the proposed ordinance, which could help in promoting the rights of women and their children. It is also good for the people be informed of the laws and ordinances that penalize the abuse and discrimination of women, particularly the mothers and their children. By initial recommendation, that main context of the proposed ordinance be amended to focus primarily on the intervention that will be provided by the provincial government and the concerned agencies' offices to the abused women and children, which are psychiatric services and therapy programs. The proposed ordinance should be highlight the conduct of information dissemination, especially the barangay orientation program on laws and ordinances for the protection of women's children and families. The operation and maintenance of the Silungan Center and the Bahay Pag-asa should be institutionalized through the separate ordinance. Final recommendation. Based on the foregoing, the committee already finally recommends the following. To approve for second reading, the proposed ordinance number 16-14 entitled An Ordinance Establishing the Saklolo and Gabay sa Ina at Pamilya Sagip Program and the Province of Marinduque providing for the source and funds and for other related purposes as amended, and to approve for first reading the proposed ordinance entitled An Ordinance Institutionalizing the Operation and Management of the Silungan Center and the Bahay Pag-asa providing funds thereof and for other related purposes as introduced by the Committee on Social Services. Respectfully submitted, Mercedes Arellano, Chairperson, Antonio Mangkukang III, Vice Chairperson, Julius P. Caballes, Member, Danilo Red, Member, Geraldine Office Mercado, Member. For this, I will read the proposed ordinance. No. I move for the adoption of this committee report. And ano? I'm move for the adoption of this committee report.
There's a motion from the Honorable Bukal Merceriano for the adoption of the said committee report. Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded. There being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
Honorable Presiding Officer, and I move also the Committee on Social, the chairperson of the Committee on the Social Services was be the co-author of this, of the proposed ordinance.
Mr. Secretary, kindly take note of
Following its adoption of the committee report, may I move that the proposed resolution be considered on second reading in the next session. Item number 1. While item number 2 is being approved on first reading and be referred to proper committee.
for clarification na po, to our majority floor leader, item number 1 po is
for calendar for second reading in the next session.
for next session.
Yes.
And number 2,
Is for the approval on first reading and be referred to the proper committee.
okay po. So, there's a motion from our Honorable Majority Floor Leader, Bukal Jojo Leva, that item number 2, which is to approve for first reading a proposed ordinance entitled An Ordinance Institutionalizing the Operation and Management of the Silungan Center and the Bahay Pag-asa, providing funds therefore and for other related purposes, as introduced by the Committee on Social Services, be approved on first reading, and that the said matter be referred to the Committee on Social Services as the committee. Is there any second to the said motion? Duly seconded, and there being no objection, said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Presiding Officer, for item number 3, may this representation be recognized again for the committee report of the Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure, Land Use and Urban Planning Development.
The Honorable Bukal Jojo Leva, as the chairperson of the Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure, Land Use and Urban Planning and Development, is hereby recognized.
Mr. Presiding Officer, Committee Report Number 47, Series of 2022 of the Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure, Land Use and Urban Planning Development on the subjects, letter from Engineer Angelito Mercene, OIC Provincial Engineer, requesting the Sangguniang Panlalawigan to grant permission for the PLDT to excavate road and road right-of-way on various provincial roads. And number 2, letter from Governor Presbytero J. Velasco for a legislative authority to enter into a MOA by and among the PGM and the Alerco Innovative Construction Service, represented by its President, Engineer Alberto R. Colliantes, relative to the rehabilitation of Buwak and Mugpog River Basin wetlands bioremediation. Here are the findings and observation as well as the recommendation. For the letter from Engineer Angelito Mercene, the findings, the PLDT shall be installing poles along the provincial roads in the province of Marinduque, hence requesting for permission to excavate on road right-of-way on various provincial roads in the province. Considering the long-term and enormous effect, the committee finds it unnecessary to excavate on various provincial roads right-of-way. However, it was agreed upon that the project shall be allowed, provided it shall be done outside of the road right-of-way. It was also agreed upon that the resolution of no objection shall be given to the PLDT regarding the pole installation placement report, provided that they have secured, accomplished the necessary permit and clearance required for the purpose. The clearance shall be subject to ocular inspection of the PEO and the submission of the project plan layout that shows that the pole to be installed is outside the provincial road right-of-way. Otherwise, no clearance shall be given to PLDT. They must also pay the necessary certification to the Provincial Treasurer's Office in the amount of 50 pesos as provided for in the Revenue Code. They should also have to secure excavation permit and all other permits from the LGUs concerned. So the recommendation is to inquire from the Provincial Treasurer's Office on what are the possible revenue generating schemes that can be associated with the similar projects for the provincial government of Marinduque. And number 2, a resolution of no objection shall be given to the PLDT regarding the pole installation placement project, provided that they have secured and accomplished the following requirements. A, clearance from the Provincial Engineering Office subject to the following: ocular inspection, submission of the project plan and layout, certification. P, amounting to 50 pesos only. B, to secure excavation permit and all other necessary permits from the LGUs concerned. And second item is the letter from Governor Presbytero Velasco Jr. for a legislative authority to enter into a memorandum of agreement. The PGM and the Alerco Innovative Construction Services, represented by its President, Engineer Alberto R. Colliantes, relative to the rehabilitation of Buwak and Mugpog River Basin wetland bioremediation. Findings: Engineer Colliantes was invited to provide some information relative to the subject matter, but for unknown reasons, he was unable to attend the committee hearing, and up to now, there's no still advice for the reason for his absence. Number 2, according to the Provincial Legal Office, the Governor was given a go signal by the DNR to proceed with the dredging activities of several rivers and tributaries, especially Mugpog and Buwak River, including Kalankan Bay, which are heavily silted and damaged by copper mining spill, which are imminent danger to life and properties. The proposed bioremediation of Alerco comes out at no cost to the provincial government. Data and communications were forwarded by Alerco to the DPWH and the DNR pursuant to DNR Joint Department Administrative Order Number 7, Series of 22, which allows and authorizes LGUs in coordination with private sector. The ALERCO will profit from all silted and dredged material that they are able to obtain from the waterway and tributaries. However, no potential revenue scheme from the PGM, but would save the budgetary requirement. In consideration of possible PPP joint venture, the ALERCO should submit a letter of intent reiterating the proposed bio remediation project for Buwak and Mugpog River Basin, which shall be referred to the PPP Joint Venture Selection Committee contract negotiation upon completion of the necessary documentation and afterwards be forwarded to the Sangguniang Panlalawigan for approval. In view of the foregoing, the committee hereby recommends that instead of a resolution be issued by giving authority to the provincial government of Marinduque as represented by Governor by the governor to enter into a memorandum of agreement with ALERCO Innovative Construction Services rehabilitation of Buwak and Mugpog River basins heavily damaged by copper mining. It would be in the best interest of the province and its constituents that the said memorandum of agreement be processed through under Section Chapter 7, Section 66, 65, Chapter 7, Unsolicited Joint Venture Projects of SP Resolution Number 966, 2021, enacting PPP Joint Venture Code of the Marinduque Provincial Ordinance Number 171, Series of 2021, pertinent portions of which provides. So we have cited here Chapter 7 of the PPP Code. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, may I move that we adopt the committee report number 47 series of 2022. I so move.
There's a motion from Honorable Bukol Jojo Leyva for the adoption of a committee report number 48-2022. Is there any second to the said motion? Duly seconded. There being no objection, said motion is hereby approved.
May I ask that we recognize the chairperson of the Committee on Risk Reduction and Management for the joint committee report of the Committee on Appropriation and the Committee on Disaster Risk Reduction Management under Committee Report number 48, Series of 2022.
Chairperson of the Committee on Risk Reduction and Disaster Risk Reduction and Management, the Honorable Gentleman from Santa Cruz, Bukal Mel Lim, is hereby recognized.
Mr. Chair, Honorable Floor Leader, my colleagues, good morning. I present here with Committee Report number 48-2022, Joint Committee on Appropriations and Committee on Disaster Risk Reduction and Management, with the subject a letter from Governor Presidente J. Velasco Jr. submitting for consideration and approval of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, the reprogrammed Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund, Special Trust Fund 2021 in the amount of 2.5 million pesos for financial assistance to additional families affected by the African swine fever as endorsed and approved by PDRRMC through Resolution number 4, Series of 2022. The findings are, on October 21, when the province was hit by African swine fever ASF virus that affected the supply of pork in the province as well as the income of farmers and families that relied on it, this prompted the PDRMC to recommend to the Sangguniang Panlalawigan the declaration of state of calamity, which the board complied. Number 2, the provincial government of Marinduque has provided financial assistance to 842 affected farmers and families during the last quarter of 2021. However, the provincial veterinary requested an additional 414 families in February 2022. Hence, the reprogramming of 2.5 million pesos from the LDRRMF Special Trust Fund of 2021. The recommendation is that based therefrom, the committee hereby recommends to approve the reprogramming of local disaster risk reduction and management fund, special trust fund 2021 to the province of Marinduque in the amount of 2,500,000 pesos as financial assistance to the additional affected families affected by the African swine fever for calendar year 2022 as contained in the PDRMC Resolution number 4, series of 2022 and ratified of the same, and ratification of the same. Respectfully submitted, Attorney Mark Julius P. Caballes, Ismael P. Lim, Chairperson Committee on Appropriations, Ismael P. Lim, Chairperson Committee on Disaster Risk Reduction Management, and Vice Chairperson on the Committee on Appropriations, Aurelio Leva III, Member Committee on Appropriations, Danilo R. Red, Member Committee on Appropriations, Lauren R. Rosales, Member Committee on Appropriations, and Baldemero R. Rampiada, Member Committee on DRRM, and Antonio L. Mangkukang, Member Vice Chairperson Committee on DRRM, Bernardine Opis Mercado, Member Committee on DRRM, and Mercedes Arejano, Member Committee on DRRM. I submit, Mr. Chair, the said committee report.
There's a motion from the Honorable Mael Lim for the adoption of committee report number 48-2022. Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded. Is there any objection? There being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
Moving further, Mr. Chair, that the said resolution. Resolution stipulated in the recommendation be transferred to business of the day, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion from Bukal Lim that the resolution forming as an offshoot of committee report number 48-2022 be moved to business for the day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded. There being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I ask for reconsideration for the committee report number 47-2022 that the accompanying resolution be transferred also to the business for the day portion of today's session.
47 po. Bukal.
Committee report number 47-22, the one that I reported earlier.
There's a motion from Bukal Jojo Leva that the resolutions forming as an offshoot from the committee report number 47-2022 be transferred to business for the day. Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded, and there being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I ask to recognize the Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Appropriation for Committee Report number 49-22 of the said committee.
The Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Appropriations, the Honorable Gentleman from Santa Cruz, Bukal Mael Lim, is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, and to our floor leader, my colleagues, I present here with Committee Report number 49-2022, Committee on Appropriations, with the subject various requests for appropriations referred to the committee. Everyone has a copy of the committee report, and since there are many subjects, many topics, I would, Mr. Chair, with the indulgence of the body, I would simply read the recommendations.
That would be preferred po.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Chair, the committee, with the said committee report, the committee recommends that based therefrom, the committee hereby recommends to adopt the following resolutions to it. Number 1, resolution appropriating the total amount of 11,500,000 pesos for various MOOE and capital outlay accounts under the office of the governor. To wit, the following: traveling expenses 500,000, training expenses 300,000, office supplies and expenditures 300,000, fuel, oil and lubricant expenses 600,000, other supplies and materials expenditures 300,000, consultancy services 2.5 million, other professional services 1.5 million, representation expenditures 1.5 million, other maintenance and operating expenditures 1.5 million, capital outlay motor vehicles, 2.5 million, with a total of 11,500,000, Mr. Chair. Number 2, the committee recommended to increase the fuel, oil, and lubricant in the amount of 120,000 and 75,000 pesos for repair and maintenance transportation equipment, respectively, and based therefrom, the committee recommends for the adoption of a resolution appropriating the total amount of 500,000 pesos for the following MOE accounts under the Office of the Provincial Legal Officer, to wit: A, fuel, oil, and lubricants, 250,000. Repair and maintenance of transportation equipment, 145,000. Internet subscription expenditures, 15,000. Office supplies, 40,000. And traveling expenses, 50,000. Number 3, the Provincial Budget Officer, in her review of the Supplemental Budget Number 2, Series of Calendar Year 2022 of the Municipality of Torrijos, states that it may consider as operative as of to date of its stated effectivity, subject, however, to the above stated conditions, comments, and findings of the office. Of this office. Therefore, the committee recommends the adoption of a resolution declaring appropriation ordinance number 2, series of 2022, authorizing the calendar year 2022 general fund supplemental budget number 2 of the municipality of Torrijos, Marinduque, involving an appropriation of 21,324,350 pesos and 28 centavos and 650,000 pesos for the general fund proper and operation of the local economic enterprise, respectively, operative in its entirety, subject to the conditions, comments, and findings of the Provincial Budget Officer. Respectfully submitted, Attorney Mark Julius Caballes, Chairperson, Committee on Appropriations; Ismael P. Lim, Vice Chairperson, Committee on Appropriations; Aurelio Lebo III, Member, Committee on Appropriations; Danilo R. Red, Member, Committee on Appropriations. Mr. Chair, I submit.
There's a motion from Bukal Lim that for the adoption of Committee Report Number 49-2022. Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded, and there being no objection, the said motion is hereby carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And moving further, that the resolutions stipulated in the recommendations be included in the business of the day, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion from Bukal Lim that the resolutions forming as an offshoot of Committee Report Number 49-2022 be transferred to business for the day. Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded, and there being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I ask that this representation be recognized for the Committee Report Number 50-2022 of the Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure, Land Use, and Urban Planning and Development.
The Honorable Bukal Jojo Levas, the Chairperson of the Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure, Land Use, and Urban Planning and Development, is hereby recognized.
Committee Report Number 50, Series of 2022 of the Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure, Land Use, and Urban Planning and Development on the following subjects. Proposed Ordinance Number 1530, entitled an ordinance converting the existing provincial roads within the population areas in the 6 municipalities of the province into municipal roads for the purposes of maintenance, construction, improvement, and for other related purposes. And number 2, the proposed ordinance entitled an ordinance requiring all persons, whether natural or juridical, that will construct and or introduce any improvements in a lot along the national or provincial roads in the province of Marinduque to seek prior clearance from the Provincial Engineering Office, the Department of Public Works and Highways, and other concerned agencies of the government, as the case may be, to maintain the roads right of way and for other related purposes. Based on the record of the Provincial Engineering Office, the following provincial roads are within the population area of the respective municipalities: Abuak, Damian Reyes Road, formerly Rizal Street; Magsaysay Quezon Street, Colonel Maximo Abad Street, and D. Mercader A. de la Santa San Miguel Street. For Buena Vista, it's Buena Vista Poblacion Road. For Santa Cruz Market Road and Hupi Pantalan Road. And for the municipality of Torrijos, Marabilia Street. There are no roads within the population area in the municipalities of Gasan and Mugpog. And the recommendation, the committee should conduct another hearing together with the respective municipal engineers and chairpersons of the Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure in the Sangguniang Bayan of the 6 municipality of the component municipalities of the province. On the proposed ordinance 15-42, The recommendation is for the committee should also conduct a public hearing inviting for the purpose of municipal engineers, the chairpersons of the Committee on Public Works and Highways and Infrastructures, for the component Sangguniang Bayans, the municipal presidents of Liga ng mga Barangay, and other concerned civil society organization. Respectfully submitted, yours truly, Honorable Daniel Red, Honorable Ismael D. Pilim, Honorable Malcabal R. Cabo, and Honorable Baldomero L. Limpiada. Mr. Presiding Officer, may I move that we adopt Committee Report number 50-2022.
There's a motion from Honorable Jojo Leva for the adoption of Committee Report number 50-2022. Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded, and there being no objection, said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I move that this representation be recognized again for the committee report of the number 51-22 of the Committee on Rules, Laws, and Ordinances.
The Honorable Bukal Jojo Leva is hereby recognized.
Committee report number 51, series of 2022 of the Committee on Rules, Laws, and Ordinances on the following subjects. Letter from Governor Presbytero J. Velasco Jr. requesting for an authority to make a definite tender, offer, and negotiate for and in behalf of the provincial government of Marinduque to purchase and enter into a deed of absolute sale with the concerned and affected landowners relative to the Marinduque Airport expansion located in Barangay Masiga and Libtangin, Gasan, and in the event of failure to authorize the filing of an expropriation case. Number 2, a letter from the Governor Presbytero J. Velasco Jr. requesting for the passage of a resolution to include the supplemental budget for the acquisition of land for the airport amounting to 9,016,560. And number 3, letter from Governor Presbytero J. Velasco Jr. endorsing to the Sangguniang Panlalawigan for Legislative Authority the passage on an ordinance authorizing to initiate expropriation proceedings before the Regional Trial Court against the owners of the lot who rejected the offer or refused to enter into a deed of absolute sale with the provincial government relative to the airport extension or expansion project. The findings and recommendation that the DOTR has allotted appropriated funds which shall be utilized for the purpose of air expansion and extension project. The proposed SAL has two aspects: the runway extension that requires an additional lot area of 4.4 kilometer or 400 meters, and the runway expansion that requires a lot of 100 meters both sides of the runway. The appropriated lot from DOTR for the process does not include the acquisition of land. Even without prior authority from the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, the Office of the Governor has already initiated talks, negotiations with the affected landowner using as basis the zonal valuation of the BIR peg at 180 square meters. There are 18 lot owners affected by the extension of the project. Some affected owners were asking to increase the offer per square kilometer to them to be a more reasonable amount wherein which they can start a business as a source of their livelihood. However, there are some who do not want to sell their lots, which may result to the filing of an expropriation case if necessary. Based therefrom, the committee hereby recommends for the continuous negotiation between the PGM and the concerned and affected landowners to come up with a reasonable offer for the purchase of a lot located in Barangay Masiga and Libtangin, Gasan relative to the airport expansion until October 31, 2022. And the final recommendation is to enact an ordinance mandating the provincial government of Marinduque to exercise its power of eminent domain by expropriating the parcel of lands located in Barangay Masiga and Libtangin, Gasan relative to the airport extension project be approved on first reading. Respectfully submitted, yours truly, the Honorable Mark Julius Caballes, Honorable Ismael D. Pilim, Honorable Jose Nerel L. Mangol, and Honorable Baldomero L. Limpiada. Mr. Presiding Officer, may I move that we adopt Committee Report Number 51, Series of 2022.
There's a motion from Honorable Jojo Leba for the adoption of Committee Report Number 51-2022. Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded, and there being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I move that we approve on first reading an ordinance entitled An Ordinance Mandating the Province of Marinduque to exercise its power of eminent domain by expropriating the parcel of land located in Barangay Masiga in Libtangin, Gasan relative to the airport extension project, and may I further move that the same be referred to the proper committee.
There is a motion from Honorable Jojo Leba for the enactment of an ordinance entitled An Ordinance Mandating the Province of Marinduque to exercise its power of eminent domain by expropriating the parcel of lots located in Barangay Masiga and Libtangin, Gasan relative to the airport extension expansion, and the same to be approved for first reading, and the same be referred to the proper committee, specifically the
Rules.
Committee on Rules. Is there any second to the said motion? Duly seconded. There be no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Presiding Officer, for the last item in the committee report, may I ask that to recognize the Chairperson of the Committee on Human Rights and Justice for the Joint Committee Report Number 53, Series of 2022.
Good morning po sa ating lahat. Committee Report Number 53, Series of 2022. Joint Committee on Human Rights and Social Justice and Committee on Rules, Laws and Ordinances. Subject: letter from Mr. Ariel N. Ola, President of 676 Semi Landowner Association of Upog Marinduque, regarding their predicaments on the land ownership of their members of its recovery from the semi-base on the Memorandum of Agreement executed between the said mining company, the association, and landowners communities from the 5 barangays of Papayang, Ino, Bintakay, Butansapa, and Pili. Pending before the Joint Committee on Human Rights and Social Justice and the Committee on Rules, Laws, and Ordinances, as a referral from the previous Sangguniang, was a letter from Mr. Ariel N. Ola, President of 676 Semi Landowners Association of Upog, regarding their predicaments on the land ownership of the members of the association for its recovery from the semi and base from the Memorandum of Agreement executed between the said mining company, the members of the association, and the landowners communities from the 5 barangays of Kapayang, Ino, Bintakay, Butansapa, and Pili. Background: the letter was received on November 18, 2022, was calendared on the 55th regular session of the 15th Sangguniang Panlalawigan, dated November 20, 2020. 2. In consideration of the referral, a joint committee hearing was held consecutively on December 10, 2020 and February 24, 2021 to discuss the subject matter, wherein the result of which is presented in Committee Report Number 116-2021. One of the recommendations from the previous meeting was that follow-up committee hearing will be held on March 15, 2021. Unfortunately, it was cancelled due to the series of events that happened at the Sangguniang Panlalawigan due to COVID-19, hence it was rescheduled. Because of eagerness of the petitioners with the aid of legislative body, they were able to pursue the management of the CMI Corporation to have a dialogue together with the members of the Joint Committee and its stakeholders. Hence, a follow-up committee hearing was successful, held on July 29, 2021. As a prelude to the eventual dialogue with the representatives from the CMI Corporation with the stakeholders to further discuss the issues at hand. As a result thereof, the 676 CMI Landowner Association of Upog submitted the following documents to the Sangguniang Panlalawigan for reference. A. Panukala, Proposal Position Paper to the CMI, Committee on Human Rights and Social Justice, and Committee on Rules, Laws, and Ordinances. B. Matrix of 5 landowners bounded with deed of absolute sale with corresponding MOA and 5 bounded by lease agreements. C. Matrix of other association members with the names of previous owners, tax declaration numbers, areas, locations, and other data, with copies of the respective affidavits of their inheritors, and D, matrix of list previous landowners, partial, as per record of the CMI with corresponding data. According to 6767 Landowner Association, other documents relative thereto shall only be presented during face-to-face meeting with the management of the CMI, who was not able to attend to any previous hearings because of the ITF restriction due to COVID-19 pandemic. Pursuant to SP Resolution number 1247, Series 2021, the chairperson of the Joint Committee, together with the interested members of the SP, were granted authority to meet the management of CMI Corporation to shed light on the issue. However, it was postponed due to prevailing quarantine status of that time. Due to pandemic and due to the preparation of the recent 2022 election, the previous Sangguniang deemed it proper to endorse the said matter to the new sets of members of the Joint Committee and the 16th SP for their consideration per virtue of Committee Report number 2015-2022, which was adopted under SP Resolution number 1553, Series of 2022. Based on foregoing, the said committee, and to which the above stated subject matter was referred to, hereby recommends that an authority to given to the chairperson and or the members of the Joint Committee to travel and confer with the management of CMI, preferably on 27th or 28th of October 2022, for depending upon the availability of person concerned to appraise the member of the Joint Committee on the said of the side of the CMI Corporation. Respectfully submitted, Augusto J. Lebe III, Chairperson, Committee on Rules. Vice Chairperson, Committee on Human Rights. Jose Nerel Mangol, Chairperson, Committee on Human Rights. Member, Committee on Rules. Mark Julius P. Cabales, Vice Chairperson, Committee on Rules. Members and Committee on Rules. Members, Committee on Human Rights. Danilo Arred, Member, Committee on Human Rights. Ismael D.P. Lim, Member, Committee on Rules. Antonio Limangkunga III, Member, Committee on Human Rights. Valderrama Olimpiada, Member, Committee on Rules. Concord, Vice Governor, Ex-Officio Member Adeline B. Amiles.
Honorable Mangol, can I just ask po kung ito po ay resolution to meet with the management of CMI was arrived at by the 15th Sangguniang Panlalawigan, ano po, sa 2021 pa? Are you still in communication with the current officers or management of CMI?
Can we talk? Mr. Presiding Officer, can we talk to the previous chairperson that we handled this agenda?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, actually, during the previous Sangguniang Panlalawigan, we have already contacted an official from the CMI. However, it was the meeting was not realized because of the restrictions during pandemic. And before the committee was rendered, we also talked with the claimants, the members of the 670, just this early and they are agreeable that we also talk first the members of the committee. They will not join, but the committee will submit to them the petitions of these 676 CMA claimants. They will send to us, submit to us a copy of their prayer and petitions, which we will submit to the hierarchy of the CMI Mining Corporation. So that was the agreement that we came about, so that the two chairpersons actually, for the information of the body, this is not a committee report. This is a chairperson's report to be rendered by the chairperson of the Committee on Human Rights and the Committee on laws, rules, and ordinances. Just for the information of the body, because you may wonder if there was a committee conducted prior to this report. Actually, there was none. It was only the two chairpersons, and we have agreed upon that before we conduct another committee meeting, we might as well talk first with the hierarchy of CMI corporation, so that they will know that there is movement like this who are claiming back the lots being actually they are saying that there was an agreement in the deed of sale that upon termination of the operation of the mining, the lots they formerly owned will be returned to them. That was their claim, and we will also, in the name of justice, we will also ask the position of CMI.
So, na-expect mo ng CMI na parating po ang
We will again ask for an appointment with them. Actually, Ma'am Sheila has already conducted that before. Noong una, a certain lady lawyer responded, and they are willing for us to be with them, but ang mas maganda po ay doon po sa opisina nila. So actually nilagay po lang po namin yung 27 as a preferable date, but if we could not get that date, then a different date will be sufficient enough for us to conduct a meeting with them. So siguro it would be better that we will not state a definite date, but we will first ask the availability of the CMI hierarchy. Then if that will be agreeable to all the members of the committee, then we will set a date for when we are going to meet with them.
Yes po. Thank you po, Bukal Jojo Leva. Also, I noticed rin po dahil yung October 28 ay session po natin. So,
okay.
Kaya,
So
please consider another day.
with the indulgence of the chairperson of the Committee on Human Rights, I am agreeable with deleting the word the date for the date of meeting. Instead, it will be an open-ended date, which is both convenient to the both parties, the CMI and the Sangguniang Panlalawigan members, especially the members of both committees.
Okay. Thank you po, Bukal Jojo Leva. So, Bukal Neril, you have the floor po ulit. If you have any motion or...
So, Mr. Chair, I move that the request be approved for the adoption of this committee report, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion from Bukal Neril Manggol for the adoption of committee report number 53-2022. Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded, and there being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
That's all for the committee reports. We now go to the calendar of business. We don't have any unfinished business. For the business for the day, the first item, the business for the day, is the letter from Governor Presbytero Velasco requesting for an authority to accept and sign for in behalf of the province the deed of donation with the Department of Health for the provision of digital. Before we go, Mr. Presiding Officer, may I ask for a reconsideration that the accompanying resolutions of the chairman's report of the chairperson of the Committee on Human Rights and the Committee on Laws, Rules, and Regulations be transferred to the business for the portion of today's session.
There's a motion from Bacol Jojo Leva that the accompanying resolutions of the said chairperson's report be transferred to business for the day. Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded, and there being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
And likewise, Mr. Presiding Officer, may I move for reconsideration for the title of the proposed ordinance being recommended by the Committee on Rules, Laws, and Ordinances, that we include the clause for those who will reject the offer of the provincial government of Marinduque, so that the title will be an ordinance mandating the province of Marinduque to exercise its power of eminent domain by expropriating the parcel of lands of those who will reject the offer of the provincial government of Marinduque located in Barangay Masiga and Lubtangin, Gasan relative to the airport extension and expansion, so that it will be clear that not all those 18 landowners will be subject to expropriation, those only who will reject.
Mr. Secretary, kindly take note of the revision of the title as mentioned by our Majority Floor Leader.
May I ask that we recognize the chairperson of the Committee on Health for the formal adoption of this committee, of this resolution.
The chairperson of the Committee on Health, the Honorable Gentle Lady from Buwak, Honorable Bernadine Opis Mercado, is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. To move for the adoption and approval, granting the request for authority to accept and sign for in behalf of the province of Marinduque the deed of donation with the Department of Health for the provision of digital mobile X-ray machine, including the accessories amounting to 4,600,000. And so, Mr. Presiding Officer.
There's a motion from Honorable Bernadine Opis Mercado for the of resolution granting authority to Governor Presbytero Velasco to accept and sign for in behalf of the province of Marinduque the deed of donation to the Department of Health for the provision of digital mobile X-ray machine, including accessories amounting to 4.6 million pesos. Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded. There being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved. Yes po, Bukal.
Hindi naman po
Mercy.
ako nag-second motion na.
Gusto ko lang po i-clarify sa proponent na ito bang X-ray na ito ay mayroong paglalagyan na sa ating hospital.
If Honorable Bernadine Opis Mercado has knowledge regarding the inquiry by Bukal Mercerino, please PP nila ito po.
Kung may paglalagyan na. Kung may room na para sundo
Bukal Mercy, the chairperson has been informed that the said device is mobile po. So, hindi ko siya pasok sa hindi na kailangan sa doctor. Ano po siya.
So ito pwede sa anim na
Maikot po.
sa tatlong hospital.
Actually, pwede ito sa anim na bayan.
Anim na bayan. I was thinking that because mayroong problema sa amin sa Tagus. Bumili na X-ray, hindi magamit gawa ng walang paglalagyan. Nakatim ang baklaan doon sa PDR. Thank you for the question.
Thank you po, Bukal Mercy. Bukal Jojo Leva.
May this representation be recognized, Mr. Presiding Officer?
Honorable Jojo Leva is hereby recognized.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I move that we adopt a resolution for the repeal of SP Resolution number 1428, and in lieu thereof, we adopt a resolution creating a trust fund for the Malasakit program and authorizing the opening of an account with the Land Bank of the Philippines for the purpose under the name of the Marinduque Provincial Government Malasakit Center, and further authorizing with the following official signatories: Honorable Presbytero J. Velasco, Provincial Governor, and Ms. Emery Ann F. Pastoral, Acting Provincial Treasurer, as again repealing for this purpose SP Resolution numbers 1428
There's a
and
motion.
1429 series of 2022.
There's a motion from Honorable Jojo Leva for the enactment of a resolution creating a trust fund for the Malasakit program and authorizing the opening of an account with the LBP for the purpose under the name of Marinduque Provincial Government Malasakit Center, and further authorizing with the following official signatories to the said account to wit Honorable Presbytero J. Velasco Jr., Provincial Governor, and Ms. Emery Ann F. Pastoral, Acting Provincial Treasurer, and repealing SP Resolution numbers 428 and 429 series of 2022 for that purpose. Is there any second to the said motion? They're duly seconded, and there being no objection, said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may this representation again be recognized?
Honorable Jojo Leva is
Mr.
hereby
Presiding
recognized.
Officer, may I move that we adopt a resolution authorizing the Honorable Mark Julius P. Caballes, Senior Board Member and Acting Vice Governor as the official Senior Board Member as an official signatory with the Land Bank of the Philippines, and sign all other pertinent documents of the Legislative Department, while the Honorable Vice Governor Adeline M. Angeles is officially as Acting Governor.
There's a motion from
I so
Honorable...
move, and we are going to delete the third whereas clause.
Okay. Is there is a motion from Honorable Jojo Leva. Is there any second to the said motion? Duly seconded, and there being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on behalf of the Chairperson of the Committee on Youth and Sports, I move for the reconsideration of the item being transferred, referred to the committee, that it be transferred to the business for the day portion of today's session.
There is a motion from Jojo Leva in behalf of the Chairperson of the Committee on Youth
Naka-repair yun.
that the said matter be transferred to the business for the day portion.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I ask that we recognize the Chairperson of the Committee on Youth and Sports.
The Chairperson of the Committee on Youth and Sports, Honorable Rosales, is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Majority Floor Leader Bokal Jojo Leva. I ask for the reconsideration of the na-transfer po sa aking committee sa youth ang letter from COA regarding sa request po nila for the donation sa paggandak po ng training on the handbook on the financial transaction of the Sangguniang Kabataan. Mainly because nag-start na po yung ating pagkakandak ng training sa ng handbook on financial transaction of the Sangguniang Kabataan. At nagkakandak na po sila sa bayan ng Mugpog and bayan ng Gasan. At last day nila ngayong araw. And meron na po silang schedule for sa other municipalities. Kaya po I propose na authorizing our governor to allot 100,000 pesos.
Authorizing the governor. Alam na ni Bukal.
Actually, galing po yung letter na ito from the Office of the Governor. Transfer po sa aking opisina.
Okay. Na-transfer na talaga. Okay. Sige po.
Appropriating 100,000 pesos for the training conducted by the COA on a handbook on financial transaction with Sangguniang Kabataan.
Right. There is a motion from Honorable Rosales for the
Under the donation.
donation account ni Governor pa ito. authorizing Governor Presbyterio Velasco Jr. to appropriate the amount of 100,000 pesos from his donation to be taken from his donation account regarding in favor of the said beneficiaries. Is there any second to the said motion? Duly seconded, and there being no objection, said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may this representation again be recognized?
Honorable Jojo Leva is hereby recognized.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may move that we adopt a resolution declaring Municipal Ordinance Number 2022-274 of the Municipality of Mugpog entitled An Ordinance Creating the Two Position of Engineer 1, Civil Engineer, Salary Grade 12, and Engineer 1, Electrical Engineer, Salary Grade 12 for the Office of the Municipal Engineering and appropriate funds therefore as valid, operational, and within the power of the Sangguniang Bayan to enact. I so move.
There's a motion from Honorable Jojo Leva that Municipal Ordinance Number 2022-274 be declared as valid, operational, within the powers of the Sangguniang Bayan to enact. Is there any second to the said motion? Duly seconded, and there being no objection, said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I move that we recognize the chairperson of the Committee on Transportation for the sponsorship of the second ordinance.
The chairperson of the Committee on Transportation, the Honorable Gentleman from Mugpog, Honorable Tres Mangkukang, is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Floor Leader. Thank you to our presiding officer. This representation would like to move for the approval of the Municipal Ordinance Number 2022-275, an ordinance prescribing the new fare rates, freight rates, and load capacity limit for the tricycle for hire in the municipality of Mugpog and providing penalties thereof, as valid, operational, and within the power of the Sangguniang Bayan of Marinduque. Be approved in today's session.
There's a motion from Honorable Tres Mangkukang that Municipal Ordinance Number 2022-275 be declared as valid, operational, within the powers of the Sangguniang Bayan of Mugpog. To enact. So, is there any second to the said motion? Second. Duly seconded, and there being no objection, said motion is hereby approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I ask to recognize the Honorable Bernardine Opis Mercado for the sponsorship of proposed resolution number 2022-64.
Honorable Bernardine Opis Mercado is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Honorable Presiding Officer and Majority Floor Leader. Proposed Resolution Number 2022-64, Resolution extending the deepest sympathy and condolences of the Provincial Government of Marinduque to the bereaved family of the late Dr. Ernesto Puertolano Marquez on his untimely demise, and expressing the PGF's sincerest appreciation for the services he has accorded to the province of Marinduque, authored by yours truly, Honorable Mark Julius P. Caballes and Honorable Mercedes Arellano. Whereas the passing away of someone beloved and precious is one of the most painful moments in life, and during this time of so much grief and suffering, that the bereaved family usually leans on relatives, friends, and colleagues for consolation and comfort. Whereas hearing about the passing of the former Provincial Health Officer, Dr. Ernesto P. Marquez, the Provincial Government of Marinduque was deeply saddened and feels the great loss, sorrow, and pain that the bereaved family is feeling at the moment, and has the moral duty to console them in the bereavement. Whereas Dr. Ernesto P. Marquez had served as resident physician at the Santa Cruz District Hospital from February 1980 to April 1985, Chief of Hospital 1 at the Provincial Health Office from May 1985 to November 1987, Assistant Provincial Health Officer from November 1987 to June 1989, Provincial Health Officer 1 from June 1989 to March 2003, and Provincial Health Officer 2 from March 2003 until his retirement on November 3, 2013. Whereas the untimely demise of Dr. Ernesto P. Marquez caused deep sadness in the face of his former colleagues and contemporaries, because he is known as a sincere and dedicated public servant, particularly in the field of medicine and public health services. Whereas the provincial government of Marinduque also joins the very family, relatives, and friends of the late Dr. Ernesto P. Marquez in lamentation and bereavement, as well as in praying for the eternal repose of his soul. Wherefore, on motion of Honorable Bernardini Opis Mercado, unanimously seconded by all the members of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, it was resolved as it is hereby resolved to extend the deepest sympathy and condolences of the provincial government of Marinduque to the bereaved family of Dr. Ernesto Portuliano Marquez on his untimely demise, and expressing the PGM's sincerest appreciation for the services he has accorded to the province of Marinduque. Resolved finally that copy of this resolution be furnished to the bereaved family of the late Dr. Ernesto P. Marquez through his surviving wife and children for their information.
And there's a motion from Honorable Bernardino Opes Mercado for the enactment of resolution number 2022-64. Is there any second to the said motion? Duly seconded. There being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
May this representation be recognized again, Mr. Presiding Officer?
Honorable Jojo Leva is hereby recognized.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I move for adoption of an omnibus motion to adopt the following resolutions. Number 1, a resolution urging the provincial PEO, the MEO, the DPWH Mardeo to conduct a joint dredging operations in the existing waterways and drainage system in the population area of the municipality of Buwak, including all the barangays of Sawi, Agot, Bangbangalon, and Laylay of the said municipality which was affected by the flooding during rainy days. Number 2, to adopt a resolution creating the joint task force for the municipality of Buwak that will ensure the immediate planning and action whenever the same calamity occurs again. Number 3, to adopt a resolution favorably endorsing to the Honorable Congressman Lord Alan J. Velasco the proposed Buwak Urban Drainage System project amounting to 1 billion pesos for his consideration. Number 4, to adopt a resolution favorably endorsing to the Provincial Development Council of Marinduque the proposed Buwak Urban Drainage System project amounting to 1 billion for its consideration and prioritization. And number 5, a resolution favorably endorsing to the Regional Development Council of Region 4 Mimaropa the consideration and prioritization of the proposed Buwak Urban Drainage System project in the amount of 1 billion located in the municipality of Buwak, Marinduque. I so move, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Second.
There's a motion from Bukal Jojo Leva and duly seconded by Honorable Mercy Rihano. And there be no objection, said motion is hereby approved.
Again, Mr. Presiding Officer, may I move for a passage of a resolution of no objection to the PLDT regarding the pole installation placement project, provided that they shall secure and accomplish the following requirements: A, clearance from the Provincial Engineering Office, and B, excavation permit and other necessary permits from the LGUs concerned. I so move.
There's a motion from Bukal Honorable Jojo Leva, duly seconded by Honorable Rihano, and there being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I ask that to recognize the chairperson of the Committee on Disaster Risk Reduction and Management for its sponsorship of the accompanying resolution of Committee Report number 48 series of 2022.
Honorable Mael Lim is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Leader. Mr. Chair, with the indulgence of the body, I move that we pass a resolution approving the reprogramming of the Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund, Special Trust Fund 2021 of the Province of Marinduque in the amount of 2,500,000 pesos as financial assistance to the additional affected families affected by the African swine fever for calendar year 2022 as contained in PDRMC Resolution number 4, Series of 2022, Mr. Chair, and ratification of the same.
There's a motion from Honorable Lim, duly seconded by Honorable Rihano, and There being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I ask to recognize the Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Appropriation for the accompanying resolution of Committee Report Number 49, Series of 2022.
Honorable Lim is hereby recognized.
Mr. Chair, these are three resolutions. Will it be okay for the
Unanimous.
body if I move for an omnibus motion for
Yes,
the three
ma'am.
resolutions?
Yes, po.
Okay,
Considering the time po.
Mr. Chair, I move for an omnibus motion for the three proposed resolutions stipulated in the recommendation of Committee Report Number 49-2022, Committee on Appropriations. Mr. Chair, I so move.
There's a motion from Honorable Lim for the approval of the accompanying resolutions as an offshoot of Committee Report Number 49-2022. Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded. There being no objection, said motion is hereby approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Presiding Officer, may I move that we recognize the Chairperson of the Committee on Human Rights, Justice and Human Rights for the accompanying report of the Chairperson's report.
Honorable Nery Manggol is hereby recognized.
Mr. Chair, I move for the passage of our resolution approving the Committee on Rules, Resolutions and Ordinances, and Committee on Human Rights and Social Justice, and or the members of the Joint Committee to travel and confirm to the management of CMI regarding the predicaments of 676 CMI Landowners Association. It depends upon the availability of their time, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion from Honorable Nery Manggol. Duly seconded by Honorable Tres Mangkukang. There being no objection, the said motion is hereby approved.
Salamat po.
That closes the business for the day portion of today's session. We don't have any unassigned business. For the proposed ordinance for third and final reading, may I ask the Secretary to please read proposed ordinance number 1610.
Proposed ordinance number 1610, authored by Honorable Danilo R. Red, Chairperson, Committee on Education, Culture, and the Arts, and sponsored by Honorable Aurelio J. Lebo III, Chairperson of the Committee on Rules, Laws, and Ordinances, Honorable Mark Julius P. Caballos, Chairperson of the Committee on Appropriations, and its members, Honorable Antonio L. Mangkukang III, Honorable Ismael D. Pilim, Honorable Danilo R. Red, Honorable Bernardine Opis Mercado, Honorable Mercedes Arihano, and Honorable Lorena Rosales. Whereas, Republic Act Number 7160, also known as the Local Government Code of 1991, mandates that local government units to promote the general welfare of its people and to provide them for the necessary basic services and facilities. Whereas, in consonance to the said provisions, Executive Order Number 138, Series 2021 was issued by the Office of the President, which provides for the devolution of functions of local governments, which includes the educational programs and projects. Whereas some of the component LGUs of the province may not have enough funds to support the education-related infrastructure programs and projects, hence necessary support is deemed imperative by the provincial government of Marinduque. Wherefore, be it ordained by the 16th Sangguniang Panlalawigan of Marinduque in session assembled, an ordinance providing 2 million financial assistance to each of the 6 component municipalities in the province of Marinduque to support their respective education-related infrastructure programs and projects, providing guidelines in the availment thereof and for other related purposes. Section 1, short title. This shall be known as the 2M4 Ed Ordinance of 2022 of the Province of Marinduque. Section 2, Declaration of Principles and Legal Basis. Section 16 of Republic Act 7160, otherwise known as the Local Government Code of 1991, mandates every local government units to exercise the powers expressly granted, those necessarily implied therefrom, as well as the powers necessary, appropriate, or incidental for its efficient, effective governance, and those which are essential to the promotion of general welfare. Further, Section 17 of the said code endeavors the local government units to be self-reliant and exercise powers and discharge duties and vested upon them, including those devolved to them by the national government agencies and offices as provided under the Code. Relative thereto, and because of the increased share of the local government units in the national taxes consequential to the Mandanas ruling, the Office of the President issued Executive Order Number 138 dated June 1, 2021, providing for the full devolution of certain functions of the executive branch to the local governments, creation of committee on devolution and for other purposes, among which that are devolved to the LGUs is the construction of school buildings and other facilities for public elementary and secondary schools. Furthermore, Department of Budget and Management and the Department of Finance and the Department of Interior and Local Government issued Joint Memorandum Circular Number 1 dated November 4, 2020, which provides for the revised guidelines on appropriation and utilization of the 20% of the annual internal revenue allotment for development projects, wherein development projects such as promotion of education and construction of school buildings were allowed to be charged, provided it is included in the duly approved local development plans and annual investment programs of the local government. Relative to the foregoing, it is hereby declared the policy of the provincial government to support the promotion of the general welfare of its people and to support the promotion and development of educational system in the province through the provision of necessary support and assistance to its component local government units. Section 3, Appropriation of Fund. There is hereby allocation in the 20% development fund of the provincial government of Marinduque an annual financial assistance of 2 million pesos to each of the 6 component municipalities of the province to support their respective education-related infrastructure programs and projects. Section 4, Guidelines for Availment. The financial assistance for LGUs herein provided shall be exclusively used by the municipality concerned to fund, support, and or augment the respective education-related infrastructure programs or projects which could be availed through: Number 1, a request to finance a predetermined education-related infrastructure program or project from the LCE of the municipality concerned, addressed to the provincial governor through the local finance committee, copy of which shall be furnished the Sangguniang Panlalawigan through the Committee on Oversight and Monitoring. Attached to the request is an activity design, is an endorsement from the local school board and the necessary program of works. The program or projects to be financed by the herein financial assistance shall be included in the province's annual investment program or AAP. Number 3, the local finance committee shall make the necessary evaluation on whether the project or program to be financed by herein financial assistance is compliant to the intent of this ordinance and recommend to the provincial governor the course of action to be undertaken. Should the local finance committee find the program or project not compliant, the same should be communicated to the requesting LGU for them to make the necessary rectification. Number 4, the LGU may request for financial assistance for a multiple program or project provided that this program or projects do not exceed the amount being appropriated by the province per LGU. Number 5, LGUs that previously received funding support by virtue of this ordinance in coordination with the concerned implementing agency of the provincial government shall submit a report to the provincial governor, copy furnished the Sangguniang Panlalawigan through the Committee on Oversight and Monitoring as to the minimum percentage of physical completion or delivery of the programs and or projects funded under the previous years. The Committee on Oversight and Monitoring shall recommend to the provincial governor the continuity or deferment of the financial assistance to the component LGU. The committee, to be able to make the sound and just recommendation to the governor, may employ the technical expertise of any office or officer of the provincial government. Failure on the part of the LGU to meet the minimum percentage of physical completion or delivery of the program and projects under the previously received financial assistance shall be ground to deny the subsequent request of the LGU. Section 5, Prohibition on the use of financial assistance. The financial assistance herein given to the LGU shall not be used for, number 1, for any purpose other than the program and or project previously identified by the LCE concerned, including the location thereof for which fund was released. Number 2, to fund projects already fully covered by other sources of fund. Number 3, for payment of personnel services expenditures. And number 4, for purchase, repair, and maintenance of administrative office, furniture, fixtures, equipment, appliances, and other administrative expenses. Section 6, project implementation. The program or project identified by the concerned municipality shall be implemented by the provincial government until such time the local finance committee devise a means on how to transfer to the LGU concerned the project implementation. Disbursement and utilization of fund being allocated herein shall be subject to the pertinent provision of the Government Procurement Reform Act or RA 9184 and its revised implementing rules and regulations, and any relevant policies issued by the Government Procurement Policy Board or the GPPB, as well as applicable budgeting, accounting, and auditing rules and regulations. Consistent with the full disclosure policy of the DALG, the implementing agency shall post reports on fund utilization and the status of the program or project implementation on the LGU's website within 20 days from the end of each quarter and or at least 3 conspicuous public places in the locality. Section 7, responsibility and accountability. The responsibility and accountability in the implementation of programs and projects and proper utilization and disbursement of herein financial assistance shall rest upon the provincial government and other local officials concerned of the recipient LGU. It is also the responsibility of the provincial government and the said local officials to ensure that the funds released to the LGUs are utilized strictly in accordance with the applicable budgeting, accounting, and auditing rules and regulations and pertinent provisions of RA 9184. Moreover, the local finance committee and the LGU concerned shall ensure that no duplication of funding will occur. As such, the LGU through the LCE shall immediately inform the provincial governor through the local finance committee if it has received funding from other sources for the same programs or projects. The local finance committee shall be responsible for the efficient and effective implementation of the provisions of this ordinance and may promulgate implementing rules, if necessary, subject to the approval of the governor. Section 8, authority to the governor. The provincial governor, through this ordinance, is hereby authorized to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the concerned LGU for the herein grant of financial assistance and the implementation of the program or project subject to the ratification of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan. Section 9, issues or items for resolution, interpretation of the provision of this ordinance, including relevant items not covered herein, shall be referred to the Sangguniang Panlalawigan for resolution. Section 10, separability. If any provision of this ordinance is declared invalid or unconstitutional by any competent authority, the other provisions not affected thereby shall remain valid and subsisting. Section 11, the effectivity. This ordinance shall take effect immediately upon approval.
Mr. Presiding Officer, inasmuch as we are now on the approval on third and final reading, we have to determine the nays and the ayes, and by doing so, I move for a roll call vote.
In consideration that the said ordinance or proposed ordinance is in the third and final reading, our majority floor leader has moved that the said measure be put to a vote through nominal voting. Mr. Secretary, can you please...
Honorable Aurelio J. Leva III.
I vote no that it will not be approved. I vote yes. And congratulations to Honorable Dan Red for this very meaningful legislative piece of legislative piece. I vote yes, definitely.
Thank you, Mr. Floor Leader.
Honorable Antonio Mangkukang III.
I vote yes.
Honorable Bernardine Opis Mercado. Yes. Honorable Melgabal Encabo.
I vote yes, and commending the author, Honorable Red, for this good ordinance, a very timely ordinance. Congratulations, Honorable Red. Mabuhay ka po, mabuhay ka.
Thank you, Bukal Mel.
Honorable Mercedes Rejano. Okay. Honorable Danilo Red.
No.
Honorable Ismael D. Pilim.
Yes.
Honorable Jose Neril Manggol. Okay. Honorable Baldomero Limpiada. Yes, also. And Honorable Loren Rosales.
I vote yes po.
Okay.
Hindi ka muna. At sabihin nyo muna.
Mr. Presiding Officer, the result of the voting, there were 10 voted for yes and no objection and no abstention.
Mr. Secretary, can you enter my vote also as a
Yes, yes,
a
Mr. Presiding Officer.
board member? Thank you.
11 voted.
11 voted for the adoption on proposed resolution number 16-10.
With 11 votes, with the proposed ordinance having garnered 11 and unanimous votes from the members of the 16th Sangguniang Panlalawigan, proposed ordinance number 16-10 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Congratulations to Mukal Danilid.
Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat.
Anim na bayan eh.
Dito naman po ay para sa atin lahat. Ito naman po ay sa 16th Sangguniang Panlalawigan. At pwede po natin ipagmalaki ito sa lahat. Salamat po.
Another item for third and final reading is proposed ordinance number 1617. May I ask the Secretary to please read the said proposed ordinance.
Proposed ordinance number 16-17, authored by Honorable Aurelio Leva III, Chairperson Committee on Human Resources, Labor and Employment, sponsored by Honorable Mark Julius Picaballes, Chairperson Committee on Appropriations, and the members Honorable Bernardine Opis Mercado, Honorable Mercedes Arejano, Honorable Danilo Red, Honorable Loren Rosales, and Honorable Jose Neril Manggol. Be it ordained by the 16th Sangguniang Panlalawigan of Marinduque in session duly assembled, an ordinance reclassifying the plantilla position of Nurse 1, salary grade 15, to Nurse 2, salary grade 16, under the Santa Cruz District Hospital and providing funds for the purpose. Section 1, reclassification of position. The plantilla position of Nurse 1, salary grade 15, Step 1, under the Santa Cruz District Hospital is hereby reclassified to Nurse 2, salary grade 16, Step 1, under the same office with all the corresponding emoluments and benefits inherent thereto, pursuant to Budget Circular number 21-2 of the Department of Budget and Management. From item number 451, position Nurse 1, incumbent, name of incumbent, vacant, grade and step, grade 15, step 1. To position of Nurse 2, name of incumbent, salary grade 16, step 1. Section 2, appropriations. The corresponding budget, salary, benefits, and compensation and other emoluments attached to the position are hereby directed to be allocated to the reclassified position, subject to accounting rules and regulations, and thereafter, the same shall be prepared and made part in the regular appropriation for personal services in the annual budget of the provincial government of Marinduque. Section 3, administrative provision. The Human Resource Management Office, in coordination with the Santa Cruz District Hospital, the Provincial Budget Office, and other concerned offices of the provincial government shall be responsible in the implementation of this ordinance. The reclassification of position herein being made shall be subject to pertinent laws, rules, and regulations of the Civil Service Commission and other applicable laws. Section 4, Effectivity Clause. This ordinance shall take effect immediately upon approval.
Mr. Presiding Officer, inasmuch as the same is for approval on third and final reading, I move that it be done to determine the nays and the ayes by a roll call vote.
Mr. Secretary, with the motion of the Majority Floor Leader that the said proposed measure be subject to vote of the members of the 16th Sangguniang, kindly open or oversee the conduct of the said votation.
Honorable Aurelio J. Leva III.
I vote yes.
Honorable Antonio L. Mangkukang III. Honorable Bernardine Opis Mercado. Honorable Melga Balarin Cabo. Honorable Mercedes Arihano. Honorable Danilo R. Red.
Yes.
Honorable Ismael D. Pilim.
Yes.
Honorable Jose Neril L. Manggol. Honorable Baldomero L. Limpiada. Honorable Lauren R. Rosales. Mr. Presiding Officer, with the 11 members of the board present, board voted for the adoption of proposed ordinance number 16-17.
The proposed ordinance number 16-17 having garnered 11 and unanimous votes in the 16th Sangguniang Panlalawigan, said proposed ordinance is hereby enacted.
That we adjourn until October 28, 10 a.m. I so move.
There's a motion from our Majority Floor Leader, Bokal Jojo Leva, for the adjournment of today's session until October 28, Friday at 10 a.m. The session is adjourned.